And welcome to season 2, episode 1, Beardos Media. Majid, long time.
Yeah, well, how long has it been? Seriously,
You know what?
too long.
A little bit too long.
So why did you come back? Was it fear of missing out? I wanted to get that in.
Okay.
I
didn't want to miss out, out of fear, so it had to be one of the two. But no, bit of a break.
Has it done you any good?
I think the world's a different place since then, isn't it?
Oh, mate, everything's changed.
Well, we're different. So
I tell you, I'm even different from just over the weekend.
this weekend gone?
This weekend, I swear, you know what? So much has happened, right?
Okay.
Forget everything that's happened in the last 3 months. But just this weekend gone, I was staying in a hotel for a couple of nights because I was delivering some training somewhere. And because of the last few weeks, I've been like really, really busy. And I've been so busy that I've not had the opportunity to get that exercise that I would usually get. Like go out for walks in the evenings and stuff like that because I've been overworked, right? So I was at the hotel and I was getting changed in the hotel. I'd be like,
You booked into a hotel and didn't get any exercise.
no,
You're doing it wrong.
well, it wasn't that kind of a hotel. It was a budget. It was a budget Holiday Inn Express kind of a hotel.
Okay.
Yeah. So this hotel had like 3 mirrors in different angles. You know what I mean? So
One of them hotels.
one of them was
Okay.
like-
That's more exercise.
that made me realize I need to exercise because I looked in the mirror. I was like, my mirror was fat shaming me. I've been saying,
Okay.
hey, what's going on? But you know what? It was crazy. But you know what? When we think about fear of missing out, FOMO,
Yes.
I just can't help it. When it comes to things like, you know me, desserts. It comes to
Yes.
desserts. That's it. I have to have my desserts. I have a fear of that I might miss out on desserts. But then I think that I should miss out of the fear that it's unhealthy and I'll get fatter.
Okay.
And then I come full circle again and
So
then I have a fear of missing
it's
out.
kind of in the balance, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
Do you see how one is more talked about than other? To be fair, the whole, it's not my favorite acronym, but it's not a bad one. FOMO, fear of missing out. It's a real thing. And I think in recent times, it's had quite a lot of attention. There's been talks on it. There's been advice on it. It's been highlighted as an issue, as if it's a current thing or a new thing. It's always been there. But on the flip side, missing out of fear, I think it's less understood.
Let me ask you a question. What do you fear missing out on?
Me?
Yeah.
Depends. You know what? There's times where, and I think probably everybody's been through it. A lot of people can relate. Is sometimes it's just everything. You just don't want to miss out on anything, especially in the current climate.
When you say anything, when I ask you the question, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? What do you think the average person would say when you mention FOMO, or fear of missing out? What do they mostly fear missing out on?
I think predominantly for most people, it will be socializing.
And in the current climate, that would be social media.
Exactly, and you can understand that. And I think it's obviously it's a very natural thing, but it can fast become unhealthy.
When you say it's a natural thing, where do you think it came from? This phenomena of
fear
feeling
itself is a natural thing, isn't it? It's always there.
Why would fear be natural in terms of missing out on something?
Because that's how human nature, isn't it? That's ingrained in our nature. Do you not think so?
Hey, know what? We just got an interesting comment. Somebody just put, not FOMO, JOMO, the joy of missing out. That's a thing too. Wow. Okay, I've never come across this before.
I think they should copyright that. The joy of missing out.
Yeah.
I heard an interesting example just the other day, and it got me thinking. And I thought, wow, it's good context. So you work a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. You're all ready for the weekend. You've just done your shift on, I don't know, you've clocked off at 5 o'clock on Friday. You've got home, had a meal, whatever, showered, and you hit your duvet. 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, yeah? Early night, but you're thinking 2 days, I'm exhausted. I'm knackered, I'm tired, working, seeing people, everything, whatever. I've got nothing on my plate for 2 days. I am literally going to just be on the sofa or just stay in my duvet. I've got a nice book to read. This is me. Solitude, isolation of a different kind. Yeah.
Right.
You're content. You've grafted that week. You've done everything that you need to do. And you thought, this is my rest time, my downtime. This is for me. It's like a do not disturb button. Yeah.
Right.
Metaphorically speaking, you get a phone call, which you hesitantly answer or whatever. And it's from a friend. In the background, there's music blaring. You can hear your other friends. There's laughter. There's whatever else going on. And you're told it's all happening down at wherever. It's the club or the party or someone's house, anything.
Did you just say party?
Did I?
You just said party.
Okay, I don't know. It's a subconscious thing. But okay, so there's a gathering.
Okay, yeah.
All your friends are together
At the party, yeah.
and it sounds... I'm not going to say off the hook or something, I don't know. But it sounds amazing. Everybody's there.
Yeah.
There's music. There's laughter. It
Yeah.
sounds like a really good time.
Yeah.
Within seconds, your entire mindset has switched. You had everything that you wanted. You had the lamp on dim. You had your duvet wrapped around you, the heating on, fireplace, whatever.
Sounds good, man.
You had a book, yeah? And this is you. You got snacks galore, whatever. But this phone call, within seconds, has changed everything. Your friends are there. They're laughing. They're joking. Music, lights, whatever.
Yeah.
And you think, oh man, I need to be there. Why am I not there? I need to go there. Everyone's there. Everything, That's fear of missing out.
By your definition, yeah.
By my definition, within that person, let's say me, for example, because it might not apply to everybody. There might be people who just don't answer that phone call.
Yeah, I mean, someone just put a comment saying fear of missing out on being socially accepted.
Yes, and I think that's very real.
There's a lot of types of fears of missing out. For me personally, the way I see it is people fear that what concerns people more is not the fear of missing out, but the fear itself of missing out. I don't know if that really makes sense. Not the missing out itself, but the fear element of missing out. Ideally, from my experience, usually when you hear about something that's going down, a party or something, right? It gets sold to you. Yeah. You get sold this picture of who's going to be there, what's going to be happening, what kind of food's going to be there, what kind of desserts are going to be there, or what kind of company it is, and what the topic of the conversation, even if it's a networking event, just as an example.
Yeah.
Your perception of what's going to happen is usually far greater than what actually happens, generally speaking. There are the exceptions. There are exceptions where the events are phenomenal. They're really good. But in general terms, you find that what's being sold as something to participate in is often not as great as what it actually is what you have been made to believe or you have perceived to be.
Quite often it is perceived. You've sold it to yourself.
Yeah.
It's that thought within your mind of such and such is there, they're having a laugh, this is happening, that's happening, this is going to be there, food is going to be there, whatever. It's all
symbiotic.
Yes.
I'm going
to pretend I know what that word means. Just
it doesn't matter. Just roll with it. Right? So if you imagine someone's invited you to a party or any kind of gig, or whether it's a networking event, whether it's a party, whether it's a meal out with mates, whatever it is, suddenly you're going to feel that if I don't attend, I might miss out, or I fear that I'm going to be missing out. Sooner or later, or shortly after, you're going to get an invitation from somebody else to ask you to come to another particular event.
Okay.
Now that sounds better than the first.
Yeah.
So what are you really fearing? The missing out of that particular situation, or is it something that's been something that's you have perceived you're going to be missing out, and the fear itself is what's driving you to go there rather than the event itself?
I think that's what it is. You know, the event itself. Now, this relates to any type of fear. How can I break it down to you? For example, I've got a 5-6-year-old at home, right? Now, he's got all these Nerf guns and rubber pellets and everything. He's shot me like 1,000,000 times.
Right.
But if he aims that at me, I flinch or I'm kind of ready.
I do that with my son.
He's never hurt, not one time. I think he's shot me in the eye before. You know, it doesn't hurt. But every time there's that fear. So it's not the actual event happening, but it literally is just the fear of it. And I can't explain why.
So, but that's not a fear of missing out, is it?
No, that's fear in general.
Just fear in general.
So the fear in itself it's ingrained in us. It's a human nature, you know. But the event is, you have to be able to separate the event from the fear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the event itself is never as bad or as good or whatever as the fear would portray to you. And then this is the same. This is the same. The fear of missing out. Truth is, you'll go to that party or that gathering or that network event.
Party this time, yeah.
Party, yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't often live up to expectation. But lo and behold, in a month's time, if you've planned to read a book or sit by the lake or whatever, and you get that same phone call or you hear of another event.
Mate, I know people who are everywhere. They fear so much that they'll miss out on something. They attend all events going, or at least they used to before the lockdown.
Yeah.
They're those type of people. They will go to every... You know, you get some people who are at every event.
You'll probably find these are the same people. Obviously, we're in a different situation now. But these are the same people that are pretty much always accessible online, on social media. Because that same FOMO carries over into the cyber world. And it's unhealthy after a certain point. You know, especially now that we're bringing social media into it. It's a 24/7 thing. And just think how exhausting that can be to have to feel that you've got to be there all the time.
They may not feel that it's exhausting. Well, consciously anyway.
Yeah.
Their mind and body might be telling them something completely different. But in the moment, they don't feel it. A couple of interesting comments here. So Eddie said, how can you fear the unknown when the event hasn't actually happened? Now, this is a rational discussion, and in the coaching world, it's often something that's discussed with a coachee when you're trying to overcome some kind of blocks. Jawad says, I think fear is important for survival. It's embedded in us throughout evolution.
I agree.
Even fear of missing out can be categorized the same way. Difference is that FOMO is a bit more about social acceptance, again, key to survival. That's interesting.
It's very true, though, isn't it? I think that's...
It depends on who you are and what you're there for and what your life is about. I know loads of people who don't even use social media.
Okay, when you say loads of people...
Yeah.
How many people do you know? Are we talking thousands, right? How many people do you know that don't use social media?
A small percentage, but there's still loads in the grand scheme.
Dozen or so, maybe? Yeah? Out of the thousands.
No, I'd say more than a dozen.
Okay.
Yeah.
More than...
I have a very mixed kind of, social circle.
Yeah.
And I know loads of people. And I think it's partially a generational thing. Some generations are less inclined to use social media than others. But I do know loads of people who don't use social media at all.
So where would you say their fear of missing out lies?
I think their fear of missing out lies in other things. I mean, I'll give you an example, something that comes straight to my mind. I have a cousin, and he is, I wrote about him once on Facebook, the goldsmith.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And he is a person who loves to serve people, loves it. You know, mashallah, Allah's given him a lot. And he loves to share what he has in trying to help other people. What he fears genuinely, and I've seen him get agitated about this, is missing out on being able to gain some extra rewards in helping people.
Okay.
He genuinely fears missing out on those kinds of opportunities. I'll give you another example. For example, my mum doesn't use a mobile phone very often. She doesn't even need to. She didn't know how to really use one properly. Yeah. The only reason she has a mobile phone is so she can stay in touch with her relatives, her nieces and nephews, and
who live sort of further afield and abroad, and
so they can have a WhatsApp video call or whatever the case might be. So recently, somebody commented on her not having one of the latest phones.
Yeah.
And although my mom doesn't even know how to use a phone properly, she had a fear of missing out on having the latest phone for other reasons. For reasons to be socially accepted, I guess, is the only way I could explain it. Because she couldn't use it, and what she had more than sufficed for her needs. However, my cousin, he knew that I became aware that mom's not happy with her phone.
Mm-hmm.
But before I had the chance to buy her one, he went and bought one for her. It's his auntie, sorry.
Okay.
So he wanted the reward of pleasing his auntie.
Okay.
And getting, du'as from her. Before I got there. And he actually said to his son, look, you better get one. Because his son Tommy says, Mamu, my dad says, I need to get one because you found out that she wants one. And before you end up getting one, I've got to get her one. So I'll just accept it. It's done. We've got it. Do you know what I mean?
Fantastic.
There are people like that.
Those are the types of FOMOs that, we could do with more people like that. That's the beneficial one, isn't it?
Yeah, there are good FOMOs.
I can't see that one becoming unhealthy. It would take quite an extreme measure of those kind of feelings for that to become unhealthy. But I mean, business is another thing. I would be rubbish on something like Dragon's Den because I'd want to invest in everything.
Okay.
And, there's so many examples of companies, like I want to say tech companies, but in all sorts of fields that just blow up overnight, And I don't know if it comes up on your Facebook and stuff, but you'll see these sponsored ads of, thanks, but no thanks. I turned down 5 offers on Dragon's Den, or, I'm not giving, I'm glad I didn't give away 30%. And now look, whatever, anything. These dragons have a certain discipline, I don't think I'd have that. I have fear of things that I've missed out on.
You okay, I'm confused there. You said you have fear of things you have missed out on, past tense. Why do you fear what's happened in the past?
Probably the wrong phrase, but you kind of get where I'm going with this.
Or you have feared
in business terms. I think when it comes to investments and taking measures and doing things, I wouldn't be that good because I'd want to do everything, and I always want to do everything, and I've always kind of jumped the gun when it comes to that. You're Mr. Due Diligence, which you really hold your own and you hold it down, and you're like, we're ready to roll, but wait. Let's see if there's this. Let's see if there's that. Whatever.
That's held me back, though. Unfortunately, when you talk about missing out due to fear rather than FOMO, that's the other end of the scale. It's happened to me in the past. I've had to overcome that quite.
That's interesting.
I've trained myself not to do
We're very opposite in that, aren't we? See, I think I'm more on the fear of missing outside. If it's a business opportunity or an incentive or taking part in something, I think I lie on the FOMO side. Whereas yourself, you would often miss out of fear or out of reservations, or, we call it due diligence, but it's kind of, is that...
You see, for me, what's happened in the past is because I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to, you know me. I mean, if I design graphics, they have to be just like I want it, I'm a graphic designer's worst nightmare. So which is why I've ended up learning graphic design somewhat myself with some bits of software and do my own stuff. But when I've designed anything, look at the way we, even produce podcasts and stuff, things have to be a particular way. If they're not, I don't like doing things half-baked, And that's in the past, and I'm talking around 15, 16, 17, 18 years ago. That's held me back from, certain opportunities or taking advantage of certain opportunities. But as time's gone on, I've become more accustomed to ready, fire, aim, rather than ready, aim, and fire.
Yeah,
yeah. It is deliberate. If you're ready to do something, you just start it, and then you fine tune it, tweak it along the way. I don't know who it was. Somebody who said, I think was it Richard Branson, or was it somebody who said, if somebody asks you to do something, say yes and learn on the go.
Yeah, fake it until you make it.
Well, yeah, that's a debatable phrase, actually.
It's kind of the same.
It is kind of the same, but yeah, I see where you're coming from. So in the past, I've been that guy. I've been that guy who has held back from certain opportunities because I needed to wait until, or I felt I needed to wait until certain things were the way I wanted them to be, and down to a T, whether that be a business card, what if I go to a networking event and I don't have the business card that I really want, or the business card doesn't look like the ones that I wanted. I've got business cards, but they're not, they're not like I want them to be. What will people think of that business card? How will they perceive me and my business or my professionalism looking at this kind? Those kind of minor things. Nowadays, if I went to an event, I might not have any cards with me at all. I'll say, "Oh, grab your phone. I'll show you who I am. Let's connect."
Yeah,
I have that kind of approach to things.
Mm-hmm. So, how would you? Obviously, it's not there so much now. But how would you describe the missing out of fear? Like, is it? It's obviously a fear, right? Is it? Would you say it's quite natural? Is it just the way that you were? Was there reasoning behind it? Because
that's a very deep question.
That's how we do, man. This is
how you roll.
Yeah, this is Bearders Media. We ain't here to mess about.
Join the party. I don't know. If I'm honest, I've never really thought about why I was like that.
It's changed.
It's changed.
You've changed.
I've trained myself to be different.
So, what was it that you kind of, you highlighted, you diagnosed almost, and you said, "Nah, this has got to change. I've got to switch this up." You've obviously seen something and thought.
Well, yeah, I realized a lot of time was passing by before I got certain things done. And before I put myself out there, certain products out there, certain services out there, a lot of time was being spent in fine-tuning the things that were, I wouldn't say completely irrelevant, but not as important as I thought they were. And that comes with experience. You realize in business, certain things are more important than others. Yeah. I mean, if I'm starting a new business, as an example, and a fresh one, completely fresh one, and I wanted to start marketing what I do, there was a time I would have thought, wait, I've got to wait until I got my business cards. I've got to wait until I've got my website. I've got to wait until I've done this, and this. And those were like tick boxes for me in my mind. They're not anymore, because I've realized they are secondary elements of marketing, not primary. Primary is always going to be me. If I'm putting myself out there, it's my job to sell my products and services. So why should I miss out on getting new business? Then, wait until something else happens. I'll give you another example. A few months ago, I proposed the idea to somebody to make an app of some kind for me, or for both of us, come into partnership with me, right? And this actually, it wasn't even months, it was about a year ago. Now, that app was going to be designed for one of the world's largest consumers of technology at the time. I'm not going to go into too much detail because of some restrictions, but because we, as a group, I mean, that individual himself probably had a lot going on. I was doing some research. It kind of fizzled away in the background, and then it had to do with tracking people, by the way, right? As in tracking movements, and like in events, massive events, like we're talking millions of people at events, right? For safety, I'm talking about the safety elements of it. So if somebody's on site, they're still on site, they're within certain perimeters and stuff. Now, when COVID happened, automatically that consumer needed that product. somebody else got in there.
Yeah.
So rather, we were, I guess, as a team working.
So this whole track and trace thing has probably been of interest to you. You've kind of followed how the app is designed, how it works.
Not really. My interest was specific to a particular scenario. Nothing to do with this. I'm not into the monitoring and kind of stuff. It's not me. So yeah. So so there's a comment here. Let's put it this way. Fear helps us all making decisions, right or wrong. Fear is one of the core emotions that's involved in almost all of our decisions, miss out or don't. It's fear that prepares us for the outcome of the decision we have made. Risk management, Maj. So this person knows me for risk management. Yes, thanks, Jawad, for that comment. So you're absolutely right. And there's an element of natural managing of risk. As human beings, we are designed to protect ourselves. And for that reason, we will have fear. Sometimes it's irrational fear. Sometimes it's rational fear. Sometimes irrational fear. Our physiology and psychology sometimes they're intertwined, so they don't know the difference between what's actually in the past, something that negative might have happened in the past, and something that hasn't happened in the future. So that fear is then an irrational fear of something which we think might happen in the future. I guess we all have to do our management of risks, as Jawad has put it, when it comes to making decisions. But when we look at the concept of missing out out of fear, then we can talk about all sorts of contexts, can't we? People in business do it all the time. You mentioned it a few days ago, certain ventures and opportunities in business and missing out of fear of something. It could be fear of failure. It could be fear of success.
See, this is it. I think when you miss out of fear, I think to analyze that, more often than not, there's going to be underlying issues. If you miss out on let's say a business opportunity or a wedding invite or whatever it is, and you don't go because of this whole fear thing and whatever, not because you couldn't, not because you didn't want to, for the reason of fear, usually there's an underlying issue. Because you didn't fear the event, you didn't fear, like you get a wedding invite, you don't go. It's not because you feared the wedding, is it?
Some people, I have known people who haven't attended things like wedding just because they didn't have the right clothes. Yeah, that they didn't feel that their clothes were up to the standard that they should be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You do get people who are very particular with those kinds of things. When you talk about underlying issues, those kind of things come into perspective, don't they?
Yeah, I think more often than not, we're sort of bordering things like probably anxiety, amongst other things.
It's social anxiety.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Well, in that aspect, it would be.
Yeah.
Not going to a wedding, not going to a gathering, not going to an event. Yeah, that's more than likely going to be social anxiety and other underlying things. But I think they don't get addressed often enough. People just skim over the top.
What, within certain communities, you mean? Or
no, I think generally. I think generally.
Social anxieties.
Social anxieties.
One thing I was thinking yesterday, I know it's slightly off topic. I mean, I've been in the last few years, I don't know if I've just naturally become a much more emotional type of a guy, or if I've become comfortable with my emotions or display of emotions. I think we are either emotional. I think we are all emotional, in fact. I think it's how we manage our display of emotions which differentiates certain things because of certain expectations. But I've noticed that because of the emotional element, emotional intelligence is a discussion point in this regard, because when we talk about social media and social anxiety and fear of missing, again, it's being intelligent with your emotions. Are you, how in control are you with your emotions in knowing that okay, this is going to be of benefit or value, or if it's a priority or not. And how you control your emotions at the same time. For me, I've got less tolerance for certain things now and more acceptance for others, which has kind of switched throughout the years. But in the last few years, I've realized that the way we manage our emotions, and I'm saying that consciously, the way we manage, because I believe we can manage our emotions at times, not all the times. And those are the times when our inner self is trying to tell us something which we've probably not connected with deeply enough.
See, I see that in you. I do see that you're a bit more in touch with your emotional side. No, I mean, you might
unashamedly.
You might always have been in touch with it, but the fact is now
it's more on display,
somewhat more comfortable. Yes, it's more on display.
Yeah,
I'm assuming because you're more comfortable with it and you've kind of, embraced it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess my question there is, where do you kind of draw the line? Like, what's too much? What's enough?
I'll give you an example of FOMO, right? I have a very addictive personality as well, right? Whenever I do something, I try and do it to the best of my abilities. Or if I'm indulging in something, I'll probably go all out, right? So social media is a classic example.
I thought you were going to say desserts. I've seen you go all out.
I've gone all out on desserts as well. Social media is a classic example. There are ways you can keep yourself in check. Number one, I do an annual digital detox. For 1 month, during the month of Ramadan, I go cold turkey. No social media at all. It brings me back to, the equilibrium, or, back to the center. You kind of detox from all that, involvement in the social media life. The second thing that I do is, whilst I'm off, and even after that, I phase myself back in when I do come back in, because I don't want to go straight dive in, because there's obviously no point in that. But when I do go back in, another thing that I do is I create more steps to opening those apps, which are social media apps. So it won't be on my front screen. It'll be on the second screen or the third screen, and it won't be straight on. The icon will not be straight on that screen. It will be in some kind of a folder.
Okay.
So I have to take a few more actions to get to the same folder and the same app, right? Subconsciously, that kind of makes me feel, I've got to do that now. Do you know what I mean? Not that I'm lazy or anything, but it's just creating more steps.
Well, yeah, with something being at your fingertips, literally at your fingertips, you're much more likely to grab it, go for it, whatever. If it's a little bit more effort, then a few times out of 10, you're going to think, sure, I'll leave it,
And this is where,
and I guess that's the aim, isn't it?
This is where Salma's comment about JOMO comes in. Yeah, the joy of missing out. Mojo. Oh, yeah.
That's another show altogether.
Yeah. Well, when you're in that JOMO, you've got your mojo back.
You're back in your hotel room with your mojo.
Exactly. But that's where that comes in, because I think there's a deeper underlying point here, and that is we need to understand who we are as individuals. And I always talk about this because one of the things which has transformed me, which I feel has transformed me at least over the last 15 years, is going on a journey of self-discovery. When you understand yourself at a deep level, then nothing phases you. When you go and when the idea is to attain contentment, that can also only be done when you're comfortable with yourself and you know what's good for you and whatnot, and you end up doing things unconsciously rather than consciously. You don't have to make an effort.
Okay.
So when you understand yourself, you know that going on social media, for example, or Facebook, it's not going to serve any value as such. This many times a day, less number of times a day, you're going to still serve that same purpose. The FOMO kicks in is when you are interested in other things other than yourself. When you're interested in things other than yourself, then you fear missing out, and you try and fill that gap with information and entertainment and all that kind of stuff from other things than being comfortable within yourself. Does that make sense?
I think so. I get the point. I get the
I
point.
don't know. So for me, I feel whenever we talk about subjects like this, the more we understand ourselves, the more comfortable we are in with a lot of things. Now, being content doesn't mean you stop being ambitious. Being content doesn't mean you can't be unhappy. In fact, being content means you can be all of the above and still be okay with it. I need to write that down, man.
It's context, isn't it? It's context. If you should be content. Yeah. But being overly content in every aspect of your life.
How define to me overly content? What does overly content mean?
Okay, so content, I would probably reword it into grateful. Yeah. So be grateful, appreciate what you have, but to define it as content means you have little ambition left.
No, I disagree.
You have little drive.
I disagree. Completely disagree. I'm on the complete opposite scale on that.
I think, this is an interesting topic because we do find in this that we're quite opposites, polar, in fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always say I'm content, but inside I know what I want. I want this.
Yeah, but being content doesn't mean you stop being ambitious. That's my point. Being content means you're okay with where you are right now because you were meant to be there right now. Where you are right now, it's been a part of your journey. It doesn't mean that you stay there though. It doesn't mean you should be content with that situation to remain there because you've got the abilities to change it. Then discontentment should kick in if you've got the ability to change it and you still don't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. See, the thing with being content is it's implied or it's assumed that you're happy where you are.
That's according to your interpretation.
That's basically the definition of the word, though, isn't it?
Being content that you're happy with where you are.
Yes. No. Okay.
Being content means you're okay with what's around you and where
what you have and where you are.
But doesn't mean to say you that's where you stop though. I think
it affects drive. It affects ambition. Definitely affects ambition. Did you watch the UFC?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you watch Gaethje's last fight?
Yeah. Against Tony Ferguson. Yeah.
He battered him. Yeah. But that's not my point. My point here is when they put the interim belt on him, he just took it off.
Yeah.
He goes, and the
waiting for the real one.
He goes, yeah, I'll wait for the real one.
Yeah.
Because the interim is basically the number one contender. For those that don't obviously follow UFC or boxing, that's the number one contender. So that's the next challenge in line for the world champion. He goes, nah, I'll wait for the real one.
Yeah. So he's not content with just keeping that back.
Yeah.
He may be happy that he's achieved it.
Yeah.
But he's not content with just keeping that.
Yeah.
That particular one.
Let's put a twist on it, or let's imagine two scenarios. For example, Tony Ferguson was the interim champ before, but he loved that belt. He'd flash it, he'd show it, he'd whatever. Yeah. He even put it in Habib's face in the last face-off. Do you remember when he knocked it off?
Yeah.
I think the drive and ambition from someone who is content is going to be somewhat less in most instances compared to someone who isn't content, who doesn't.
The question is, what are you content with?
In that particular scenario?
In any situation. When I'm talking about contentment, I'm talking about being content with life.
Okay.
I'm looking at the bigger picture. Alhamdulillah, as Habib would say.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean to say I'm not ambitious or I stop being ambitious or I'm not, I can't be unhappy. Being content means to me that I'm appreciative with everything God's given.
Okay.
But God's given me also the ability to do more.
Yeah. But see, this is why I would rather word it as grateful, or appreciative rather than use the word content. I think.
Let me put on a different context to you. If you've had an accident which wasn't in your control, are you going to be grateful?
I thought you were going to ask if I was going to claim. Sorry.
That goes without saying. I know
Okay.
you would.
If I've had an accident,
It wasn't in your control.
okay,
Are you going to be grateful?
are you going to be grateful for the accident?
Yeah.
Or the fact that you're still alive and
No,
whatever?
are you going to be
whatever?
grateful for the accident? Of course you're not. Nobody is. No one's grateful for the accident.
Okay.
But this is why I say contentment is important, because I can be content even if I've had an accident.
Okay.
Because if it wasn't in my control, it wasn't in my control. I'm still content. I'm not going to be, losing sleep over it.
Yeah, but then on the flip side, if you're not content, what do? Do you stage a bigger accident, or do you go and say, no, I'm not content with that, I'm going to do it properly?
No.
That's a whole different...
No, it's not. You've changed it. I'm again talking about somebody's bumped into your car like they did today, but it was a bigger
Yeah,
one.
man. I've got the reg, by the way. If you, yeah.
Yeah. If it was you, well done. Somebody has smashed into your car.
Yeah.
It wasn't your fault. It was their fault.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not that you had an accident and it was, you wanted it bigger because, content it was a big enough accident. If someone's smashed into your car, you're not going to be grateful, are you? You can still be content though, even after having been in an accident. This is my point. That's why I can't define it as being grateful. Contentment, you can be content in some really catastrophic situations if you're in touch with, and
But you can also be grateful, though. You're not content with the accident. You're not
but you
grateful
can be
for
grateful
the
you're
accident.
still alive.
Yes.
You can be grateful you're still alive.
Yeah.
You're grateful that you walked away without any bruises, cuts, and
The way I look at it
fractures and whatnot.
is a journey. Yeah. Now, contentment is more often than not achieved at the destination, I would say. My interpretation.
I disagree.
I'm grateful for the entire journey. I'm appreciative of everything that I come across: the food, the drink, the nourishment, the family, everything.
Where's the destination, Ali?
This depends on your outlook on life.
Okay, so you get to one destination of, I'm assuming, multiple destinations, yeah?
Okay.
And that's when you become content? Can you not be content on the journey itself?
If you're content, then do you even continue the journey?
Why not?
You're content.
You are content with what God's given you as his creation, and you're still on the journey of life.
Interesting.
Look at the bigger picture.
I would still insert grateful there. But okay, I guess it's different for different people.
But would you say you'll be discontent though?
No.
Well, this is the point, isn't it?
The thing is, you've got to have a certain level of drive, a why. You've got to have a why.
Of course.
And if you don't have a why because you're content, or even if you do have a why, but the fact is you're content, your why is not as strong as someone who wants to strive or achieve or claim, and that's the difference. And I feel we've swayed off topic. Where are we now?
We were talking about fear of missing out.
Yes.
Yeah? And I think this is closely related because, some people aren't content because they fear they're going to miss out on stuff.
Interesting example. I came across a video by Russell Brand. I don't know if you follow him, but he does some pretty interesting work nowadays. He does very short YouTube videos. And I saw one and he was describing...
Did you do one with Cat Stevens recently?
Yes, he did a brilliant interview. Cat Stevens, cool guy, man.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of his career or what he was or what he, apparently he was a cool cat.
Yeah.
But I think he was before my time. So Russell Brand was talking about, going to the Oscars or the BAFTAs or the after parties or, these celebrity gigs. And he was very honest. He was very, cards on the table. He goes, nobody really enjoys it. Nobody wants to go. He goes, I've spoke to so many people. Oh man, do we have to go? It's another event. It's this, it's that. But everybody turns up and everybody goes for their own reasons. They want to stay relevant. They want to see what's happening. They want to be seen. They want to see who's there. All of these things. But truth be told, nobody really wants to be there.
They're there because to show face.
to show face for 4 reasons of FOMO.
Fear of missing
And it's
out.
just that.
And be seen as part of this elite kind of group. Yeah.
It's exactly that. And it's strange because...
And they pay for the privilege as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't assume...
Somebody once said to me, why would I go and pay for a networking event? Why would I need to pay someone to make friends?
Yeah.
Said that to me about 2 years ago now.
And it still resonates. There's an element of truth in that.
I guess if the ticket price is quite low and there's food that you have to pay for, it makes, it's a difference. But
look, I don't really do networking events, but that's only because 1, I'm boring, and 2,
stop there. That's enough.
I have nothing to offer. Like I have no reason to give anybody a business card. I'm not in any kind of, and that kind of trade business.
Dude, you're a part of Beardo's Media. That's enough. That's all you need. That is all you need.
They're more often than not, they're just the price of a meal, aren't they? So there's food there, so that's good enough reason to go. But I understand why somebody would say that. But coming back to the point is that this fear of missing out is ingrained in all of us. And if celebrities and millionaires and stars, and if these people are having it, it just shows that it's never going to go away. It's not something that you think, oh yeah, if I get this job, if I get this salary, if I get this, if I have this many friends, if I have a big social circle, I won't have that anymore. You will always have it. And what's important is you need to come to terms with it. Realize what's your actual fear, what's the underlying, and then resolve that. Because it's not going away. You can't say, once I make this much money, once I drive this car, once I wear this watch, once I have 100 friends, or what's the cap on Facebook? Is it 5,000?
5,000.
Once I have 5,000 friends, or once I get 100 likes on every profile picture that I post, then you will still have.
That's a funny. Sorry, just a slight diversion. You mentioned Facebook friends. I am constantly trying to keep them low, right? I don't want to top more than 3,000, right? And I'm struggling now because I get so many people with so many different, mutual friends, and I'm looking at these mutual friends, and there's some names which are always coming up. Like somebody sends me a friend request, and if it's a female, there are always 2 or 3 individuals who are already their friends, right? and I feel like, and there's sometimes...
It's not the same ones, is it?
It's the same ones. Always the same ones. And it's so obvious. And you know what they do? It's really funny.
Are we talking actual females or bots?
No, because actual females.
Okay.
Actual females. No, bots are completely... I know.
We're going to have to edit that out.
Yeah. But actual females. And there are some people, I like blokes who are connected with me, right? They will take the time to always interact and comment on posts of females, but very rarely do they comment on males' posts. And I'm thinking, why? Anyway, I think I know why. Moving on.
Question, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm asking you this on the freaking show and everything, but okay, so you've had a friend request off a female, yeah?
Yeah.
And the profile, you're not sure, but the profile picture is quite, I want to say suggestive, but
racy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Racy.
Yeah.
You've got a couple of mutual friends, but you notice that these male friends,
are always
are liking this lady's profile pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really? Do you ever want to ask them, what's to... No. Okay. What's to like?
You know who you are. You know who you are.
Yeah. I just, you know what? I would, if I was a bit brave, I'd ask these people, what is to like about this picture? Like, I put pictures of myself, but we never like my picture. Do I need to?
Honestly, I see it all the time. I see so many times.
I thought it was just me that does that.
But you know what? Bots aside, even actual people, right? Everybody gets friend requests from different people, right? And I do my due diligence. I try and, if I'm not sure about someone, I'll keep them there for a couple of days to see what kind of interaction they make and, what kind of things they're posting. I'll try and look at what I can. If they're so protected, their profiles, I can't see anything, then I just simply don't accept. Yeah.
Can't see without adding them.
But if they are in this country, for example, because here's another case of FOMO. I know some people who will accept friend requests from anyone and everyone, from the fear of missing out, that I might miss out on somebody who's actually quite good at something, or I don't know what they'll think they're good at, but
well, I can give you a couple of ideas.
Well, yeah. So they have that fear of missing out. I'm pretty cool about it. So if people aren't from countries I recognize or speak a language that I speak, and they're not they don't have shared interests, then I simply don't accept, because I'm trying to keep the numbers low. But there are some people who will accept everybody, anyone and everyone, including bots. And then they get surprised when their accounts get hacked, and then they're like 99 other friends get tagged in.
I've always wondered, what's the purpose behind that? I've never figured it out. I get 3 or 4 requests a day. And I think secretly inside, I'm just hoping that one of them is a real person one day, That's even worth considering. But look,
I know
missing out of fear.
Yeah.
Do we agree, and I know we don't agree on much on this subject, but do we agree that it's something that should be addressed within yourself?
It depends on what you feel you're missing out on out of fear. Some things could be healthy to miss out on out of fear.
No, they could be healthy to miss out on, but not for that reason.
No, for that reason.
Okay.
Because human beings are designed to protect themselves. If it's healthy to miss out on, and you fear that by indulging in whatever it is...
Jumping out of a plane. You jumped out of a plane, right?
Yeah.
Parachuted.
Very unhealthy.
Yeah.
Don't recommend it.
You quite easily could have missed out on that out of fear.
Yeah.
You're glad you didn't.
I don't know, man. I'm just thinking about it, and I'm cacking it. Yeah.
Look,
but yeah, I guess you can say I'm glad I did it, because it's done now.
Yeah, I'm all for missing out on things.
Yeah.
For the right reasons. I don't think fear is ever the right reason. Look, obviously, my kids are at that age where they need to brave up, they need to kind of man up, they need to face certain scenarios.
Man up. Wow.
No,
wow. Okay. That's something we're going to differ on.
We're definitely going to differ on that. Should I tell you why? Some of these groups that you're into, or this new, not emotional side, but what is it?
I don't think it's new. You see, I think people evolve as they grow maturer. I've got a few years on you, and I think your mindset will change as time goes on.
Do you reckon?
I think
I don't see it.
I didn't think that it would for me, and it has done. And that's only because I'm more and more comfortable with who I am.
Do you think that's a natural thing that has to happen over time? For example, you've got young boys, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't really encourage them to be in touch with their emotions and such as you are now as a 40-year-old, or
I think that's not something you prescribe actively. I think it's something you demonstrate that it's okay. I think you don't tell them cry. Wait, cry. Okay. You don't say that. You don't say it.
But you do say don't cry. Or you do say don't be scared of this, or don't this, or face this, or challenge this,
No.
You don't?
No, I don't.
Wow. So if your son's afraid of, I don't know, spiders. I'll give you another example, yeah?
See, my parenting skills are possibly unorthodox. I don't know. Maybe other people might do it the same way. I don't parent my kids like their kids are like that. Like the average person that I've seen does it.
Do you allow phobias?
Here's the thing. It's the first time I've said it this season.
Not bad.
55 minutes into it. Here's the thing. Whenever something like this happens with my kids, I don't tell them what to do, and I don't tell them what not to do. I ask them the right questions for them to come to the decision themselves. Well, at least I feel I've asked the right questions. Then they decide what to do.
Mm-hmm. But inadvertently, you're doing the same thing, aren't you? You're not allowing...
I'm not engineering their routes, though. I'm letting them come to their decisions. I'm not telling them what to think.
Okay.
I'm just asking. So imagine one of the children is scared of a spider. Yeah. So I would say, okay, is there a spider there? No way. Come on, let's have a look. Right. Then I will ask them the right questions. How big is that spider? That big. How big are you? No way. Are you that much bigger than the spider? Who do you think should be more scared, you or the spider? do you think the spider's more scared of you? Or do you think you're more scared of the spider?
Okay.
You know? So I'm asking the right question, getting them to think.
I do that. I do that.
So they're coming with to the answers, not me.
Okay. But you come to the point where you've got to say, okay, we're gonna pick up this spider now. It's literally never harmed anyone. There's not one person that's ever been harmed by a spider. We're not talking like Australian or exotic spiders or anything, but generally speaking. So, I mean,
these kinds of spiders.
Yeah. Okay. I see that. I appreciate that. I'm slightly more hardline, but
I can tell.
I don't disagree with your approach.
No, that's fine. That's healthy.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, there are times when you change your thinking based on different experiences.
Yeah.
So one of the comments is, I just can't seem to relate to understand the concept of the fear of missing out. If you want to go, you go. If you don't go, if you don't go. Simple.
It's not
that simple.
It's anything but simple. We all do things that we don't want to because we didn't want to miss out. And I think a lot of people will interpret that as they wanted to do it. They wanted to go, or they wanted to attend.
Again, I would disagree. I don't think everyone's like that.
No, not everyone. Of course not.
Because you said we all do. That's why I would disagree.
Okay, then
I think most of us.
Most of us. And I think when we speak, it does generally have to be about the majority or the bulk of us or a certain large percentage of us. Even when I say we all do, I don't mean it to be a blanket statement to be everyone. I'm just talking the majority.
Yeah, of course. Of course, I understand that.
So the fear of missing out is, I have not come across anyone. I've come across people who say they don't have it, but I don't think I've come across anyone who I would put my hand up and say, you know what, I actually believe that person has zero fear of missing out. That I'm okay with. I don't think FOMO is such a bad thing in context.
Yeah, context is important.
I think missing out of fear is a worry for me. That's something that I would always address. If I was, speaking to someone, advising someone, or if it was in, one of my kids or anybody, one of our employees.
It depends on what you're missing out on and what your fear is. That, again, has to be in context. And let me give you my own example again. I've given up on certain job roles because I feared that I would miss out on praying and not being able to see my children. Like really well-paid positions. Okay. My fear of missing out on them outweighed the rewards of staying in that position.
No, but that's not a fear.
I missed out.
That's a fact, isn't it?
No, it's still a fear that I may miss my prayers, as an example. That's a fear. It's a genuine fear. Okay. I fear that.
No, but that's more factual, isn't it?
Well, what's the difference? You can say that for everything.
So then. You don't fear death. Example. I didn't mean to go dark or anything. I know we're wrapping up. Okay. But you don't fear death.
Okay.
But you're not going to jump out of a plane without a parachute. The reason you're not doing it is because you're going to die.
Yeah.
And the same with yourself. You didn't go for this job because of what you'd have to sacrifice, miss out, lose, give in return.
What's the fear of missing out, though? Look, if I'm in that job and I'm not coming home for a whole week at a time, I'm only coming home for weekends, I'm missing out on the upbringing of my kids or spending time with my kids. I fear not being able to spend enough time with them. I fear not being able to pray on time when I'm at work.
It's all context, isn't it?
You can say that for everything. Then,
it really is. And that's interesting. That's interesting. I'm okay with people not doing things because of, factual reasons.
Yeah.
But because of
fear, Thank you.
But for fear, I don't think fear is the right reason.
I think fear is perfectly plausible reason if it's because we as human beings are designed. Fear is designed within us inherently to protect us from some things.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many things I do that I didn't want to do it. But the fact that I found myself having a bit of a fear, a bit of phobia about it, I was like, no, I have to do it now. I don't want to.
Yeah.
But the reason that I'm not doing it is because I felt myself like, flinch or be scared. I'm like, I have to do it now. I have to do it just so I know that's not the reason.
Anyway,
Anyway.
we have reached an hour, and I don't want to keep dragging this conversation any longer.
We actually could. We actually
could.
We
So
shouldn't,
easily.
but we could, yeah.
I know we can't. We shouldn't, but we can easily do that. Ladies and gents, thank you for joining us on another episode of Bedos. This time again next week.